So Formula 1 has rejected Andretti's application to be the 11th team on the grid. And with that, we have another chapter in Andretti trying to make it to the F1 grid. Now, this battle has been going on for years now, and it all started with Andretti trying to buy off Sauber from FinRousing. Well, it wasn't able to, and since then the opposition has been immense. Now, the reaction to this decision from the fans, it is predictable and it is filled with anger. However, the reason why I'm making a video on this is there is a bigger pattern that needs to be discussed. And the bigger pattern is how for quite some time, every time Formula 1 takes a decision, it is met with either trepidation or outright rejection. That has been the pattern for quite some time. And it raises one important question. Is Formula 1 completely disconnected from its fan base and has no idea what the fans want? Let's take a look at why I'm asking this question. I think first of all, let's talk about the Andretti fiasco because, well, that is the hot news right now. To be fair, the decision and the arguments made in the press release, do they lack merit? Do they have merit? It's a question that can be answered in so many ways because the kind of standards that Andretti was being measured with, if those standards are used for some of the teams on the F1 grid right now, even they would fail. Are we going to kick those teams out? We are probably not, right? So in that case, why different standards for different teams? And that is a question that is being asked by quite a few people right now. Secondly, it's disappointing but not surprising. The reason behind it? Well, throughout this entire saga, there has been no point where quite literally F1 has thrown a bone towards Andretti. The whole problem with the entire saga is that from the beginning, Formula 1 has been against having an 11th team. And despite Andretti making major investments, having even a relationship with Cadillac and General Motors, even then nothing has moved the needle. And it is disturbing for anyone involved, especially Andretti, because there is almost a sense of discrimination to an extent. To add to this, I think it's not a secret that out of the 10 teams on the F1 grid, if we exclude Alpine and McLaren to an extent, almost every other team has been a vocal opposition for Andretti to become a part of the entire structure. The reason behind it, no one wants the entire pie to be cut in 11 pieces instead of the 10 pieces that it's being cut right now. The problem here lies with the fact that the teams have just too much power at this stage. Right now, it does appear that the 10 teams have a lot of power, and the kind of opposition that they've put forth, it's something that is very hard to overcome. And at the end of the day, we see the result of that. Finally, a question and a perception that only Formula 1 can answer at this stage is, how will the American market perceive this entire situation? Because for Formula 1, America is arguably the biggest market that it wants to penetrate into right now. And the amount of effort that the sport has made to get that done, it's visible. We already have 3 races in America, and there is a very high probability that we might have a 4th one in New York. On one side, you want as many as 4 races in that particular country, but you would not allow a team from that very country to exist on your grid. It's a very uncomfortable dichotomy that Formula 1 finds itself in. And at some point, even F1 will be hoping that the way Andretti has been treated by the sport, that does not offend the American fan who is still very new to the sport. Now, even for a moment, if we keep Andretti aside, the second aspect that has been infuriating the fans is the increasing number of the street circuits. Now, just to give you a brief idea of how the number has exponentially grown. In 2004, the F1 calendar had just 2 street circuits. In 2014, a decade later, the F1 calendar had 3 street circuits. And now we are in 2024 and there are as many as 7 street circuits, and by 2026 the number is only going to increase. The reason why there has been such a dramatic rise in street circuits is because, well, at the end of the day, it impacts the F1 bottom line in a positive manner. A street circuit is easier to manage, it's more accessible, and these factors tend to contribute towards a greater revenue for F1. Now, while that is all fair and good, there is the other aspect to it, and that was clearly visible when Red Bull did a poll asking the fans on what they preferred, whether it was a street track or whether it was a conventional track. And the overwhelming majority voted in favor of the conventional track. Now, there could not be a bigger exercise to show what the fans want, and with almost 85% of the fans claiming that they would rather watch the race on a conventional track, it's a clear dichotomy of what the fans want and where the money lies. Now, when we talk about the street circuits, there is a reason why they are not liked. And the reason is not because they don't offer unique challenges. The reason is that, well, first of all, their number has increased a tad too much. That is one of the issues. Secondly, the racing in these tracks is probably not the best. Then finally, arguably one of the biggest issues is the cars that we have right now, they are not built for these tracks. This is something that has even been talked about by Max Verstappen, who was quite vocal in Las Vegas last season when it came to all these things. Finally, there is a reason why I asked this question of whether F1 is out of touch with what the fans want. On one hand, it increases the number of street circuits, fans outrage. It rejects the 11th team, fans outrage again. Then another aspect that is not often talked about is the exorbitant increase in ticket prices, something that the fans are not too comfortable with. Again, another thing that the fans are not happy with. When you take all these into consideration, you see a sport that is being run in a completely parallel universe where actions are taken that are just not in line with what the fans want. Now, when you do that for a year or two, you might survive. But when this becomes a pattern, ultimately there will be a tipping over point. F1 is riding a wave of popularity right now. The bottom line is booming. The profitability is there. Everything is looking up. But if the sport takes the fans for granted, it's not long before the downfall begins. So yes, at the end of the day, I do have this question where, is Formula 1 out of sync with what the fans want? If yes, you have to question how long this hot streak will survive. So yes, these were my views. Do let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching. Please like, share and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.